The Golden State Warriors are currently 8-2. They are tied with, I believe, the Phoenix Suns for second best record in the West. They have started out with a great start. I don't think many people expected them to start off this well. I would say, honestly, I didn't expect them to have this type of a great start, but they are clicking on all cylinders right now. A few things that stand out to me about the Warriors is when you look at the statistics, they're number 2 in scoring in the league at 121.3 points per game. They're ranked number 7th in the league in defense at 109.4 points per game. But one thing I've noticed this year in some of their games is that they are really playing like 10 or 12 guys deep every game. They're playing their bench a lot of minutes. And it looks like they're cutting down on their starters' minutes this year. I look at Stephen Curry, for example. He's only averaging 28.3 minutes per game. I don't think he's ever played below 30 minutes for most of his career now. It must have been a long time before the last time he played this type of minutes where it was very low. I'm trying to remember, just going back, last time he played this amount of minutes for a full regular season game this low was his third season in the NBA where he played 26 games only. So it's been a while. What that tells me is that Steve Kerr is now trying to preserve him for the longer playoffs, a playoff run, I would say. Just I think that's the hopes that they don't overuse him this season and that they can get to the playoffs and he can unleash like a Phoenix type of run. But that's the plan. Kind of reminds me how Popovich would conserve Tim Duncan and Ginobili during the twilight of their careers with the Spurs and would just play them a lot less minutes, rest them a lot in hopes that they would have a lot in the tank ready for the playoffs. And it did pay off, obviously, during the 2014 title run. I think Kerr is trying to do the same thing with some of his older guys. I see Draymond Green, for example, is only playing 27.2 minutes per game. Andrew Wiggins, 26.5. So I think these are all like career low minutes for these guys. When I look at their previous statistics, they're playing a lot less than they normally do. And it's interesting because you look at the Warriors bench, they're playing a lot of these guys, a lot of minutes. So it's interesting that they have a very deep team. If their bench continues to produce the way it's producing, they might have like the deepest bench in the league. Now, one of the issues I see with them is that they don't really have a legit guard that can play next to Stephen Curry, just like they used to when they had Klay Thomas. Klay Thompson, I meant to say. I don't know why I said Klay Thomas, but Klay Thompson. They don't have like a legit guard that can play with Curry like Klay Thompson did when they were winning titles. These other guys just are either undersized or just can't do what Klay used to do. Just you look at some of these guys, they have Melton, they have Gary Payton II, Buddy Hield. I would say he's just a little bit undersized when I look at him. Just defensively, he gives up a lot on the defensive end. I think that's really one of their issues that I've noticed the last several games. They've experimented with different guys playing next to Stephen Curry to see which one they want to stick with for the rest of the year. It's interesting that they started Kuminga, and now they have Kuminga coming off the bench. He's having a productive season when you look at his stats, 14.6 points per game, which is very solid. And I think Buddy Hield is also averaging like 18 points a game off the bench, which is ridiculous. So their bench is very powerful, but they don't really have a legit second guy to play next to Steph in the backcourt. So I think that'll be an issue all year. I also think their big man rotation is not great. Trace Davis Jackson. Well, it's Trace Jackson Davis. I always get that mixed up. But Trace Jackson Davis, he's a solid big. He's a solid lob player. He's very athletic. He's good defensively. I wouldn't say great. And then they got Kevon Looney, and he's all right. I would say at this point in time in his career, I would say just decent as a backup. And then you got Draymond, who I've never been a fan of. So to me, that trio is like an offensively inept group of guys when it comes to scoring. Combined together, they can be decent defensively, but that's really one of their biggest weaknesses, I would say, is their big man rotation. a lack of a legit guard to play next to Curry in the backcourt. Those are the two things I think will take them down when it really matters if they get into the playoffs. I would say just the other thing is I don't see a legit number 2 star next to Curry. I know some people will argue, hey, Buddy Hield is putting up great numbers. He can be that number 2 guy. Or maybe Andrew Wiggins can step in and be that number 2 guy. Or just, I'm trying to think who else they have. They got Kuminga, Buddy Hield, and Andrew Wiggins. So I think they're thinking that one of those 3 guys will be that number 2 guy for Steph, a legit number 2 star. But those guys are I would say above average players, but I don't view them as stars or just a legit number 2 guy on a championship level team. I just don't see them as that type of player. I just think that will also hurt the Warriors. They don't have a legit number 2 star on their team. I think until they can get a number 2 legit star, I don't see them back in contention. The team will win a lot of regular season games if they continue this production with all these guys in rotation. I'll say this. That holds up. They can win a lot of games, but I think they're a regular season team. I think it's fool's gold, and I think they'll be exposed during the playoffs. I just can't see this team winning entirely the way it's constructed. Their big man rotation is weak. They don't have a number 2 legit guy to complement Steph. So I think those things will do them in the long run. During the regular season, they can get away with it because they're depth and just being able to exploit matchups. But during the playoffs, these flaws will be exploited against them. So I expect them to try to make a trade. I don't know for who, but wouldn't surprise me if they went for Jimmy Butler or someone else on the trading block. Maybe they'll try to make a steal for, I don't know, Giannis, but I don't think the Bucks will be dumb enough to trade Giannis even with their struggles. But yeah, they had to go for the fences, I believe, just to get a number 2 star, and I don't think they will through a trade. So that's my opinion. This could be a good regular season team, but they're not going to ever get back to winning a championship in the Stephen Curry era. So that's the way I look at it.